This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety. So go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Wheel. Today, Sean and I are going to discuss what we feel is a hot topic, campground etiquette. Everything from our behavior, pets' behavior, and just following the basic rules of the campground. So, hey Sean, how are you doing today?
Good. Where are you today?
I am in Seattle, Washington, just a little outside of Seattle, Washington. I think the town is called Kent, town of Kent, Tacoma. And,
okay.
We're staying at a KOA. We're actually here for a little while. This is the longest amount of time we have ever stayed at a campground or even in the same city for this period of time. We're here for off and on like 6 weeks. We're here for a couple weeks, then we're going to bounce to Oregon, and then we're here for another 3 weeks or something like that.
So since you've been RVing, this is the longest that you've stayed somewhere?
Yeah, before that, the longest we've ever stayed somewhere has been 14 days, and that was Disney World.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't usually stick around in one spot too long with Sabrina's work schedule. She has us bouncing around, from place to place. And before we were in Seattle, we came from Chicago. So it was the nice little drive.
Yeah.
And then when we leave here, we're going to drive back east and be about another 2,300 miles.
Wow. Yeah. 6 weeks is about the norm for us, I think. Probably if we averaged it out. Not lately, no.
Every time I talk to you, you're somewhere new recently.
Yeah. Today we're in La Grande, Oregon, on the eastern side of Oregon. So probably the closest we've been recording a podcast in a long time.
Yeah, we're about 6 hours away.
Yeah.
That is the closest.
Yeah. So that's a little bit unusual, but yeah, this quick travel is really wearing on us. We're ready to stop for a while and settle down. But after like in the middle of June, we're going to go to the central coast of California, and we'll be there for, I think, about 6 weeks. So it'll be nice rest and relaxation.
And hopefully you'll get some sunshine over there.
Yeah. It's been raining for like 10 days straight, I think, in our travels. So it's just terrible, I think.
Yeah, that's a long stint of bad weather. It's rough, I think. It wears me down anyway. I don't have the same type of energy when it's that cloudy and rainy and you can't get outside and really do all that much. And
maybe at the end, after we talk about etiquette, maybe we can talk a little bit about your new toy that you got.
Yeah, awesome.
Your electric bike. Yeah.
I went 26 miles with it yesterday, and I said to Sabrina, I don't think I've ever ridden a bike that far before, but I have to calculate how far the house that I grew up in was to my grandparents' house in Philly, because I used to bike that. So I got to figure out, I remember the addresses. I just got to put it into the Google Maps and see how far that is. I don't think it was 26 miles.
Yeah, that's pretty far. That's a long bike ride.
Yeah, but it's fun. We can talk about that after we can get into the meat of the discussion and then save that for the end. It's a lot of fun.
So before we started recording, we basically talked about most people's number one rule of campground etiquette. And I think it was not to cut through somebody else's site.
Yeah.
And for Julie and I, that's never really bothered us, but we don't travel with pets or little kids. So I think it would make a difference if we had one of those with us. And I know you have Belle. If she's anxious at all, somebody walking through could get her stirred up, I think.
Oh yeah. Stirred up isn't even the right word. She goes ballistic. And we think she's trying to protect us. Maybe that's the reason. But yeah, she does not like people going through our site. And we know we don't own a site. It's the campground site. And we know it's more convenient to walk right down the middle of a site than walk all the way to the end and around if you're going to laundry or something like that. But we were at one place that our car was parked in front of our RV, and they were walking in between our car and the RV. So they were like brushing up against and they were kids. They weren't adults. Well, a couple of adults too. I mean, they were literally like just like brushing along the front of our RV to squeeze in between the car and to us. And we're like, really? And Belle she just went nuts every time. Right after that happened, the first day, it happened a few times. I went out and I'd back the car so that it touched the front of our RV so that nobody could squeeze in between. So then they were just walking along the front of our car instead and then through our yard. But it was a little better on Belle that she just didn't, it was too close.
Yeah, and I think if I had like a fire, like if I had my propane fire pit going or something like that, I wouldn't want people cutting through either. Or even if I had just shut it off, those things stay hot for a long time, and I would hate for somebody to walk through and trip on it and fall on it or something like that. Even though I don't think it would be on me, but it's still, It would be bad.
It would be bad. Yeah, I was talking to a campground owner in Erie, PA one time, and I was asking him what was like the number one accidental thing that happens. Like what's their biggest issue? And he said it was people falling into fire pits.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, I would have not guessed. I was like, that's the number one thing that happens on a regular basis. He's like, yeah, people drink, they get drunk, they trip, they stumble, and they fall into their fire pits. I was like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the number one accident that happens on the campground. I was like, that's interesting. Would have never guessed. I don't know what I would have thought would have been the number one. Maybe people bumping into trees with their RVs or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Or backing into a post or something.
Yeah, and stuff with their RV, not people falling in the fire pits. Wow, out there. He said the one that was the most memorable for him was that somebody was wearing like the workout gear. It's like that light nylon material. They fell into it, and that is extremely flammable. Yeah, and he's like, this guy just like lit up real quick, just like just torched them, and then it just went, but then it just went out real quick, and he's like, he was shirtless.
Wow, that's probably scary.
Oh, I'm sure it's terrifying.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's terrifying.
Wow.
Yeah. So just staying off of other people's property, not just for courtesy, but maybe just for safety too. And you never know if somebody's got dogs when they're sleeping are very quiet. You wouldn't know that they were there, and you walk on somebody's property even with the dog leashed up, and you don't know it's there, and you wake that dog. Who knows what that dog's going to do?
Yeah.
So Sabrina and I, we stay off of other people's property. And I think it's a good rule.
Yeah, I guess the other question related to it is, if you do have pets, do you let them go on somebody else's site? Like if you're walking them or whatever? It goes to keeping them on a leash, but sometimes you have those extendable leashes.
Yeah, I keep Belle off of everybody's site. Yeah,
you do?
Yeah, most of the campgrounds that we have like what they'll call dog runs or dedicated pet areas. So it's tough. When a dog needs to go, it needs to go, and they don't usually give you much warning for number one. Number two is a little more predictable, and for Belle it is anyway. She just doesn't go anywhere. She's got to sniff the ground. She's got to make sure it's right before she settles down to go.
Yeah.
When we first step out of the RV, I let her hang out at our site for a little bit first, off to the side of the site somewhere, because I know she's going to go number one almost immediately, and then we'll go for our walk, and that keeps her from wanting to go onto other people's property. Sometimes she'll want to smell, and if we just stay along the, if you're going around, the outside of the park and you got a corner site, she'll want to smell if they got bushes and stuff like that. But I just don't let them on their yard.
Okay.
Because you just, she likes to mark territory and all kinds of stuff, and people don't want, especially if you're not a dog person, if you don't own a dog, you don't want somebody else's dog on your yard. You're there for. You might want to go out to eat or something and cook your barbecue or something. And you see somebody out there and their dog's pissing all over your yard.
Yeah. And I guess some people are afraid of them too. So
yeah. And Belle, Belle's a little hyper. She has a tendency to, she's small. Most people aren't scared of it, but every once in a while, somebody does have a fear of dogs. There was a guy yesterday, actually, she was barking at, and he was like, backing away. And I don't see too many people usually back away from Belle because she's so little, but this guy didn't. He was a little nervous around her.
So you always keep her on a leash too, unless you're in a dog park area?
Yeah, she has to be. She listens well, but she's distracted by squirrels and stuff like that. And she's way too fast. If she was off a leash and she would start to go after something, by the time I would yell to her, she'd be probably a football field away. She's just too fast. She's like little greased lightning.
What about picking up after?
Yeah, that's a pet peeve too of ours. Sabrina and I, on our leash, we have a little fake fire hydrant that holds her bags. So we always have bags with us. We're very good about picking up after her, but we see a lot of people. Two things. We see a lot of people not picking up after their dogs. And we see a lot of people at campgrounds not leashing their dogs. And, I think that's fine if you're really on your own property, but I don't think it's a safe idea, no matter how well behaved the dog is. And these dogs are, they stick with their owners. They don't go anywhere. I don't know why, but it just, it riles up Belle sometimes to see a dog off leash for whatever reason. She looks at it as a wild animal if it doesn't have somebody holding on, and it kind of fires her up a little bit. We always fear, but these people that let their dogs off leash at the campgrounds, especially the little ones, there's a lot of traffic that comes through a campground, and not everybody's paying attention to speed limits or paying attention or looking for small animals crossing the street. Maybe kids are a little taller and you're going to see them, but I know in our motorhome, we have a huge blind spot in a Class A. I think it's 8 to 10 feet in front of me. I can't see the ground.
Oh, that's a long ways. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the way you sit. So if somebody walks in front of us who's 5 feet tall and they're a foot or two out, I can't see them. We found this out actually being at a gas station. So a dog being, a foot off the ground, I'm not seeing. I wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a good idea for dogs to be off leash at the campground. It's just a little too much traffic, a little too much going on. Kids run up to your dog or something like that. There's no way to restrain your dog. Because kids can be rough with animals and not.
Oh yeah,
and not on purpose. Yeah, they have no fear. They don't know. They might run right up to a dog and grab a hold of it, and you have no way to pull your dog back.
Yeah,
I don't know. I kind of cringe every time I see a dog kind of loose leash in a campground.
Yeah, the problem I have with people picking up after their dogs, it seems like in 90% of the RV parks we've stayed in, they have stations throughout the park with those bags too. So even if you didn't do like you do and have one attached to the leash, they're readily available in most places. So why not pick it up? So, when the next person's going out for a walk or something like that, they're not stepping in it.
Yep. Yeah.
It just seems too easy.
It's easy to pick up. Yeah. Like you just said, there's stations. The campground that we're at now, there's 6 stations here with the bags. As you're walking past one, if your dog hasn't done anything yet, as you're just walking past it, just grab a bag as you walk past and put it in your pocket for when it comes time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, but
a lot of people don't pick up after their. I think that's worse. To me, that's more my number one thing than staying out of my sight. Staying out of my sight area is cleaning up after pets, because I just don't like stepping in it,
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody does, Sean.
Yeah.
Maybe there's somebody out there who knows.
You never know, right?
You never know with this world. Like, best day ever.
Yeah. What's another one that you have as far as etiquette or pet peeves go?
Trash. Like when Sabrina and I pull into a site, and sometimes, I don't know why, but people seem to use their fire pits as trash cans.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll pull into a site. We've had places with like broken glass and beer cans. And I think for the most part, the campgrounds do their best to like clean up a site a lot of times. But in I guess, a busy season where the turnover's real quick, maybe they miss stuff. But we've been to the campgrounds, and all that is still like, and it's not even burned up. They literally were using their fire pit or fire ring
as a trash can.
As a trash can, yeah. And there's just trash in there. I remember one time it was real bad, and Sabrina and I we had just set up, and we were like, oh, let's put on a fire. And I went over, and I was like, oh man, this thing's filled with trash. I'm not gonna clean it out. And Sabrina's like, don't you clean it out. Call the campground. And I was like, nah, I don't want to bother anybody. She's like, what if you cut your hand on a piece of glass, or who knows what's in there? There could be needles.
Yeah.
And she was right, because they actually came by, and the guy who cleaned it out, he used a shovel, like a small shovel, and
so he didn't actually have to touch anything.
He wasn't grabbing it by hand either. So I was like, oh, maybe you're right about that. I was just going to pick everything up. I was going to put a glove on and pick everything up by hand. But I think she was probably right about that one. Keep my hands out of the fire pit to clean it up. Yeah. So trash. Yeah. I think if anything, you should try to be leaving areas a little better than you found them.
Yeah.
But definitely, definitely if you're throwing trash in your property and then just like driving away. We've seen people do it with trash bags even. Like at a campground, they'll take their trash out, lay it on the ground, and then drive away.
Wow, I've never seen that.
Oh, we see that a lot.
Wow.
And we're always like, why would you do that? Like, what's your thinking behind it? Why would you leave that for the campground to pick up? Like, it makes no sense to us, but we see it a lot. Now, some campgrounds will, a lot of the KOAs anyway, if you leave your trash at the corner of your site, they'll drive around.
Yeah, and pick it up.
Yeah, not all of them, but a lot of them do that. But we've seen this happen at places that don't have that type of service. These people are just like, leaving, and they just leave their trash on the lawn. I'm like, that's nuts. I don't know.
That is nuts. Yeah.
There's dumpsters all over the place.
We've seen the fire pit a couple times with trash in it, but we don't really use the fire pit that much. So sometimes I might not even look in the fire pit the whole time we're at a site. So I bet it happens quite a bit.
Yeah, we've found it a lot more than we would have ever guessed. A lot of times at state parks, because I guess the state parks don't have like the crew we've been at state parks where they have like 200 sites. I guess they just can't take care of them all. It's
usually in the rules that they give you not to put trash in your fire pit. I mean, I see that in almost every rule sheet.
Yeah. It's kind of an obvious thing. You wouldn't even think that you would need to write that. I don't know, but yeah, we see it a lot. We probably won't notice it as much though, like you're just saying, since we picked up that propane fire pit and we're using our propane fire pit now. Like we might not even notice it anymore. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's kind of a rude thing to do and use that thing as a trash can. I don't know. I don't get it.
Another big one for us that we think is really important as far as etiquette is driving slowly through the campground, especially if you have your RV attached. If you're driving your RV, you definitely need to slow down. But people go through there like 15, 20 miles an hour. It's scary.
It is. And the campground, you usually do not have a ton of space. And it's usually wooded and tree, kind of goes back to the same thing that you don't know if someone or a kid or something's on, like step out in front of you. You have the distraction of the trees. Then you have, obviously the RVs parked in the areas too. And it's easy for someone to walk out from behind their RV or something like that. And that's why that speed limit is set for 5 miles an hour is, obviously for safety so that you don't hit somebody. If you're doing 15, you're not going to be able to stop your RV fast enough. I mean,
no,
they're kind of sluggish.
Yeah.
They don't stop on a dime.
Yeah. But we see that a lot in campgrounds, people driving crazy. You really shouldn't speed in a campground. I mean, there's just too many obstacles that can be thrown in front of you that you need to react to.
Yeah, we see it a lot too. Usually when people like get their RV set up and stuff like that, and then they're using their tow vehicle or something like that. Usually it's the tow vehicles that we see people speeding around in the campgrounds. And again, it's just one of those things. What's the rush? The campground's not huge. You're not saving in much time by speeding out of there. I don't know. You're not.
Yeah. What about when people pull in next to you after quiet hours and they start setting up? Do you think that's something that should be considered part of etiquette, waiting until the morning to fully set up, or does that not bother you?
It doesn't bother me too much, but I know when Sabrina and I do pull in after hours, we won't set up till the next morning. It doesn't bother me if other people do, though, because we sleep with a white noise app on, and we probably wouldn't hear somebody coming in and setting up. But there have been times that we've come in overnight and we'll wait till the next morning to set up if we have neighbors on our two sides.
It doesn't bother me either, but I have seen on social media some people complain about that. Like somebody pulled in at midnight and started setting up, and it upset the people. So I don't know. I could see if you were a light sleeper that it could bother you. if you are pulling in the middle of the night, it might be a good idea to only set up what you absolutely need to make it until the morning.
Yeah, that's what we do. And usually for the most part, we don't really need much because we could just, I'll go out and maybe plug in and that's about it, just for the electric. But other than that, I think that's usually what we'll do. And then, set up. And to be honest, I don't think it's been that often that we've arrived. I don't like arriving in places after dark anyway. So for the most part, we try to avoid it, but it has happened on occasion. And now I'm trying to think, have I ever seen other people coming in late at night? And the answer is no, because I guess I'm sleeping.
Yeah. Well, we were at a casino. We pulled in really early, and so there was tons of space around us. When we woke up in the morning, there were like 3 or 4 next to each other on both sides of us, and we never woke up. They didn't. You don't really do much setup at a casino, so.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
just them arriving and stuff, we didn't even hear that. So it doesn't really bother me too much, I guess.
Yeah, I think the only time I really notice people around me is actually maybe early morning, is as if I'm waking up and there's like a diesel pusher or something next to us and they're getting an early start. But
yeah,
it doesn't bother me. But I hear them setting up, but I'm already up by then. It doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, that one doesn't bother me too much. I don't think, because like I said, with the white noise, and I just don't notice it. I guess I'm a very heavy sleeper though, and Sabrina sleeps with earplugs because she's not a heavy sleeper. So that's a good one, though. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, though, that are light sleepers and it would disturb them. And then, sometimes when you wake up in the middle of the night, it's hard to get back to sleep again.
Yeah, I always sleep with like the radio on, classical music or something like that for that background noise. So I don't really hear anything outside. So I guess that's why it doesn't bother us either.
Maybe people could leave some comments on this episode. I'd like to hear. Actually, I'd like to hear in general maybe some comments down. Can they do that, Sean? Can they leave comments? I don't even know. Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of their campground etiquette do's and don'ts that maybe that as we go through our list, if we haven't hit one that they're fond of, maybe they could leave it down in the comments for us to see.
What about people partying late at night? I know that's a pet peeve for a lot of people, and they consider that like bad etiquette. But like, for example, we were in Dover, Delaware for a NASCAR race. We were staying outside of the racetrack at a campground, but obviously most of the people there that weekend were there for the race, and they were up late at night. I mean, partying seriously. And that didn't bother us because we knew it's kind of like a party atmosphere when you go to that. But I think it would bother me in a regular campground if people were up late at night, drunk, partying. I think that would bother me a little bit.
Yeah, that would bother me too. I'm all for, having a good time, drinking or whatever, and hanging out with friends. But I think there is a time for it when you're at a campground, and say, I don't know, maybe anything after 11ish or 10 or 11, especially after, I'd say definitely anything after 11. I think you should be kind of courteous to your neighbors. I'm going to say, there should be a quiet time. A lot of the campgrounds have quiet times. For the most part, people are respectful of the quiet times, but I know when people are drunk, they don't really pay attention to much of anything else. They have no idea what's going on around them, and they
don't even see the fire pits, right?
Yeah, they're falling in the fire. Exactly. There's no way they know what time it is. They don't even know where they are. But we have, even with that being said, that we've had, not where they were next to us, but a couple sites down or across from us. I remember one time in Tennessee, we were staying at a place, and there's like 3 guys, and they were hammered and they were loud. They had their music loud. They were loud talking, and it was probably around 11:30 at night or something like that. And I was thinking, man, if I was right next to them, that'd be bad for us because of Belle, especially. Sabrina and I could probably fall asleep, but Belle hears everything, and even with the white noise on, it's not going to keep her calm throughout the night. So I think you need to be that's something that I think is campground etiquette, and just being respectful to people around you. I think that's you should just obey the rules of the campground. If they have a quiet time, you should respect that and follow the rules, I guess.
And do you read the rules?
we read the rules usually in the, I'm picking it up right now. So usually, they give you like the little pamphlet, and Sabrina and I will go through a rule. Mostly for Bell. Some places just have weird rules every once in a while. I can't think of any right now, but I know that we've been to places and we're like, oh, that's different. But usually we pick up the pamphlet. We want to see where the laundry is, where the dog park is, if they have one, and then we'll go through the rules. We're always curious. We don't own a golf cart, but we're always curious if you're allowed to drive a golf cart through an area and things like that. So we do read the rules at every place we go to.
Yeah, I think it's important to read the rules because, like you said, there's always oddities. The rules are never all the same everywhere you go.
It's really different. Speed limits. We have seen speed limits with some crazy numbers even sometimes. Like sometimes a speed limit is 3.5 miles. Some places it's set, and sometimes it's 7. They can be, a decent range. That just every campground has its rules, and they must have them for a reason, I would imagine. I doubt that they just make stuff up. And usually I think it's rules for safety more than not out of convenience or respect, but I think it's a lot to do with safety too.
One other one that we talked about a little bit before we started recording was going over and talking to people while they're setting up or breaking down.
I'm kind of bad about that because I can be talkative at times, but if I see somebody setting up their campground or especially more if they're breaking down their campground to leave, I try to leave them alone because I don't want to distract them from hooking up a cable on their car or a brake release or anything like that, or even just simple stuff like leaving their picnic table items on the table. Like some people strap a cover on their table or something like that. Yeah. I just don't want people to forget stuff, maybe their kids, their dog, or but safety too.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to not bother people while they're setting up or breaking down. It's easy to forget something when you're, because you're like, it's muscle memory after a while. The things you do, it's just automatic. And if somebody distracts you or disturbs you, then it messes up the whole system.
Yeah, it's going to take you out of your routine. And I originally was saying, I was thinking more for the breaking down part, but actually the setting up part too, you have no idea how far this person just drove. They might be tired and they might just want to get set up and relax. You might not be catching the person at their best. They might have just driven. What did you do yesterday? Didn't you do like 475 miles or something like that? Driving your fifth wheel. So I doubt that you're in a very talkative mood after driving, after driving 7, 8, I don't even know how long it took you, but 8 hours of driving. And now after driving all day, you still have work to be done. You still need to set your site up. So, you might not be catching people at the best times for conversation.
That's true. Yeah. Aside from mistakes, you might not make any friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was just thinking too. I guess I wear our Beyond the shirt a lot. I actually bought 2 extra ones, so I don't have it on me today, but I almost always have a Beyond the Wheel podcast shirt on me. So I noticed when I wear it, I try to be a little bit more courteous, a little friendly, because I don't want to be giving our podcast a bad rap. Be like, oh, I ran into that Kenny at a campground.
Here's another thing too. I guess most of the RVers that we run into, everybody has like Facebook or Instagram or, some sort of social media. So you recognize some people at campgrounds. And so we will always message them before we go over and just knock on their door or whatever, if we know they're there. I think that's a pretty good etiquette thing, just to send a message or wait till they're outside maybe.
We've done the same thing, like you just said. We'll get a hold of them through usually like Instagram with a direct message if we see somebody and we recognize them. Only because I know for like us, like right now we're recording this, I have the door closed. I'm just hoping that nobody knocks on it while we're recording, because then it would mess up the recording for one. Then I'd have to then we would have to stop. I'd have to get up and then come back and get back to our place again. It would really throw us off. And a lot of people, do work from the road in their RVs. Not everybody's on vacation. I know for Sabrina, like she's working night shift right now. So she's sleeping right now. So if somebody would knock on the door and, disturb Belle, it disturbs her. So some people, you just don't know what their work schedule is in an RV.
Right.
And I'm sure we're still the minority. Not everybody in an RV is working, obviously, most of them, especially this time of year. So this is like the season. Everybody's out in their RVs.
Yeah.
So you probably have more people that are actually on vacation, but like in the wintertime, we don't see a lot of RVers at campgrounds. Sometimes we'll go to a campground and sometimes it's like us and one other person.
That's true.
So then there's a better chance of that person actually working in their RV. If it's like wintertime in Indiana and you're in an RV, most likely you're working out of your
That's
you're
true.
you're not on vacation in Indiana in February. I think that's all of my, I'm not calling pet peeves. I think that's all of my pet peeves, Sean. I don't know if you have.
I think that covered it.
They're pretty good, but I would be interested in what other people have to say about it. I'm sure people have, or even if you want to, share a story with us of maybe one of these pet peeves happening that is comical or just, for any reason at all. Just want to share one of these stories that have happened to you, people walking through your site, or if you know anybody that's fallen into a fire pit, that'd be kind of neat to read about.
Yeah, it'd be fun to share with our listeners too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about your e-bike.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's one of those things I wish I would have bought sooner.
You've had it like almost a week?
I've had it. Today is day number 5, and I only know that
because you use it almost every day.
That's how I know. Yeah. So every day I've been taking it out. I had and it's a folding bike. This is not sponsored. They don't even know I own the bike or anything like that. But I bought it. So I bought a bike called Ecotric, maybe Ecotric. I've been looking at folding bikes, electric folding bikes, for almost a year. I came across this one. It had really good ratings. The problem with the electric folding bikes is that they're really expensive. I mean, for the most part, they're expensive, and this isn't cheap either. But I was able to get this for $780 with tax and shipping. That's really good for, if anybody's looking at electric folding bikes, you'll know that's a really good price. Anything under $1,000 is a really good price on an electric folding bike.
Yeah.
It does pedal assist or full throttle, which is what I was looking for. I wanted to have the option if I wanted to. Yeah, I mean, it basically just turns into like a little electric scooter and it'll ride me around. But I definitely wanted to be able to pedal and have it assist me. It's got 3 modes. It's got a low, medium, high for how much power it contributes. And it is just fun to explore on. And especially here in Seattle, they have a huge bike trail. I went out on it the other day, or a couple of days this week. I've done like 26 miles in one direction with never getting on a road. And then I left the campground and went in the other direction and did 26 miles. Well, I should say 13 miles out, 13 miles back without ever having to get on a street. I went out yesterday. I did 26 miles round trip. And on my way back, I saw you had a choice of which way you wanted to go. And there was another path. So today I'm going to go back out, ride out. It's about 5 miles from here. And then the path splits and you can take a different path again. So every time I take it out here anyway, their trail system is amazing. It's so good that you can ride for, well, I would have never been able to do 26. Let's figure this out, I guess. I have another folding bike that is not electric that I was riding here before I got this one. And the furthest I could get was probably 6 to 8 miles round trip.
So you have to charge it every night after you do that?
Yeah. So I'll bring it back. I have the charger out of my cargo bay and I just lock the bike up and then plug the bike into the charger. Or you can remove the battery and bring the battery inside and charge it. But we're at a nice enough campground. I haven't felt any sort of way. I will say that I've never locked my other folding bike up. But this one, I'm locking this one up because my other folding bike I got for around $200, which would still be a shame if it got stolen. But I've had it for over 2 years. It's kind of funny how things like that happen. Like when I first got the bike, I was always locking it up. Now that it's been 2 years, I'm like, if somebody takes it, somebody takes it. I want an electric bike anyway. It'd be a better reason to get one.
So as far as using it goes, the pedal assist really makes the pedaling a lot easier. Like you feel like you're definitely not having to work as hard.
Yeah, definitely. So you notice it the most on, like your startup. Like when you first do those first couple pedals, you usually push really hard. The motor kicks in and it takes that out of the equation. So I'm not working very hard to get me moving. And then you really notice it going up hills. It'll kick in. It's like normally if I'm about to hit a hill, I have to stand up to get that extra for downshift or or maybe it's upshift, downshift, and in this, none of that happens. Like once it notices that I'm losing my speed and momentum, it kicks the motor in. I continue to pedal, and it's like pushing me up the hill to get up and over. So, anytime that you think of it really makes the ride enjoyable because it makes everything feel flat riding. So,
okay.
I think that's the best way to describe it. I'm still pedaling. I'm still physically doing something. In fact, I had my watch on the other day, and I set it to cycling. It monitors my heart rate and everything like that. So, in a 26-mile ride, I burned 1,400 calories because you're still working. But I would say the best way to describe it is that it takes all the challenge out of the biking part of it and just makes it fun. It really does just make it fun. It makes it feel like you're just on flat land the whole way.
And you also still have the option of gears, right?
Yep, it's got a 7-speed. So I can, upshift and downshift. I can shut the motor off completely if I was crazy enough to do that. But or the opposite, or I can stop pedaling and let it do full power mode, and it'll just run as a scooter and just tow me along. I haven't done that too much. I did that a little bit yesterday on the way back because 26 miles I was like getting kind of tuckered out. But it's also the way I set it up. So I mostly have been riding it on low and medium because I still want to do a little bit of the work. If I would set this thing on high, it would do most of it, and I would just kind of be just turning my legs, I think. So I keep it on low and medium for the most part.
And the battery, you haven't had issues with the battery dying yet?
No, not yet. And
that's good.
And I don't think I would, even when I came back yesterday after doing the 26 miles, I still had juice left in it. It reads it in like 4 dots, full to low. And then I guess once that 1 dot ends. So I was on the last dot when I returned, but I'm not 100% sure how much of the battery was left.
Yeah, but that's a long ride, 26 miles. Yeah.
I don't think I would ever go further than that. I think you're still sitting on a bike for that amount of time. And I don't know why bike seats can't be more comfortable, but they're not. They're just not.
I was talking to Julie about it yesterday, and she was saying that would be her issue, not with the riding part with an e-bike, but sitting on the seat for that long.
Yep. Now this one, surprisingly enough, so I bought a seat for my old folding bike because I didn't like the one that came with it at all. It was very uncomfortable. So I bought a big memory foam type of seat, and I figured I would just take that seat off and put it on the new Ecotric. The one that came with the Ecotric is actually more comfortable than the seat that I went out and bought specifically as an upgrade on the other bike.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't came with it like that. You didn't order that special or anything.
No, it's just the seat that came with it. It's just got a little bit better padding and size-wise. It's just a better, more comfortable seat, but it's still a bicycle seat. I mean, you just look at a bicycle seat and know it's not comfortable. There's no, the way they're shaped is just like, I don't know why this can't be fixed. But yeah.
And with it being foldable, you have no problems putting it in one of your storage bays or anything like that.
It fits in the back of the RV, so I can fold it up. It's actually got a quick release. Man, now I sound like a commercial, and I wish I was getting paid. I might have to contact these people, but it's got a quick release on the front wheel, which I've never had before. So you just, after you fold it up, if you still need it to be even a little bit more compact, it's just quick release, and you pop the front wheel off, and it gets even smaller.
You can fit that in a small space.
Yeah, I haven't found anything about the bike so far that I haven't liked. Actually, there is one thing. There's no place to put a water bottle. Like a lot of times bikes will come with even if it doesn't have a water bottle, it'll have the 2 screws. This doesn't.
It doesn't even have the screw holes.
It doesn't have the screw holes for it. It's an aluminum frame, but I don't think that would be a reason of why not to. So no. I would say that's my one complaint about it is that there's no place for me to. So I did order one from Amazon that just uses a kind of zip tie, but a Velcro loop system. So it's just on wrap around that bar.
Okay.
And self-tighten, I guess. But it would have been nice to just have a normal, that I could have just gone to any store and just bought one that screwed into it. I could have drilled holes and done all that, but then I was like, man, I'm not messing. I don't want to drill holes.
So Sabrina hasn't ridden it yet.
No, it's because she's been on night shift since I bought it, and she does not like bike riding at all. So I'm hoping she's off today and tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I'm going to take her out on the bike. I'll take my old bike. I'll let her ride the new bike. And I think she's just going to get on it and laugh. I think she's going to enjoy it. We'll have to come back and talk about it. Maybe if she does or she didn't. I want her to get one as well so that we can go riding together. She's never had any. When Sabrina and I first met, she owned a bike, and it was in. She said that she had it in storage for 10 years because she just never liked it. When we lived in Roanoke, we both bought bikes. We went out a couple times together, and she was like, "Nah, I'm done. This is why." She's like, I never. She's like, I let you talk me into getting the bike, and I rode a couple times with you. I don't like it. So I'm hoping though, because this bike has an option of like full throttle, she doesn't have to do. I mean, it's just a ride. It does 20 miles an hour. So she doesn't need to pedal. She can just go out and enjoy the scenery. These bike paths are really nice. You're running along the river. You can see mountains and a lot of greenery. There's a bird sanctuary that you can park and just walk your bike through if you want. It's just a great area for bikers. I'm gonna have to go on and look online to see just how many miles of trails they actually have out here, because it's amazing. And the nice thing too about these trails and the location of the KOA is that I'm looking out my window and I can see the trail. It's like the trail is maybe 10 yards from our site. So it couldn't be more convenient. I mean, and these trails actually link up to stores. Like you could take a bike trail and it leads you to a Home Depot or a Costco or the 7-Eleven or all these different stores too.
I wish more cities had that actually.
Yeah, I'm liking it now. Now I'm hoping all these cities. Now that I have this bike and that I'm having fun riding, because before I would ride the bike and I would enjoy bike ride. I've always have. I mean, I've always owned a bike as long as I could remember, all the way back to my tricycle. It's always been like a level of work, to get to where you're going, and it's always been a little bit of balance of it's always been a balance of more work than fun, and this bike flips it. So this is like more fun than work.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm looking at them.
Yeah, it's great, Sean. If you pick up an electric bike, I think there's such a, and I actually get this term from James from the Fit RV. I was talking to him about electric bikes, and he said that there's a wee factor to an electric bike. You just get on it and you're just like, wee. And he's so right. And he's big. I mean, if you don't know who James is from the Fit RV, he's
he's fit
cyclist. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's obviously fit. Yeah. I don't, but he's like a bicycle enthusiast. He's even gone overseas and done bicycle races and stuff like that. So when you think,
really? Okay.
Yeah. So when I was talking to him about it, I was thinking in my head, this guy's going to laugh at me, for even bringing up an electric bike to him. But he said, no, I've tried electric bikes. He's like, they're fun. And that's, they're just fun.
Yeah. And as you're traveling, it's a great way to see things outside of your car,
Yeah. It's a nice feeling to be out in the wind kind of feeling and being more, with these trails. I got little bunny rabbits riding and running and jumping all around you, and the birds. There's a lot of different, like, weird looking birds out here that I haven't seen before. It's a much more natural setting than driving in your car. Around town. Yeah, I hope you get one. I think you'll love it.
Yeah, I'm hoping by our trip to Fort Wilderness we'll have our e-bikes.
Oh yeah, it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Disney World, Fort Wilderness, 1.5 miles long, 1.5 miles wide campground. That's the perfect place for a bike. And that's part of the reason why I got this bike too, because it's got this big fat 4-inch wide tire with the knobby and everything. So it'll be great for going around campgrounds when they're most campgrounds are not perfectly paved. Some aren't paved at all. A lot of times dirt. And on my other bike, I could ride it around campgrounds if they had a decent amount of packed dirt or paving. But if it got kind of choppy, then my other bike just, it just wasn't made for that. But this bike is made for snow, sand, loose dirt, all that stuff. So I'm going to get so much more use out of this than the other one. It's been a lot of fun. So Ecotric, if you're listening, I already bought the bike and there's nothing left to do, I guess.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining us. And like we said earlier, if you have any pet peeves or etiquette tips of your own, please leave a comment or go on our website and send us a message. If you have an electric bike, we would like to hear about that as well. Like what kind of bike you have, if you like it, if you would recommend it. I think they're growing in popularity in the RV community. And so the more information, the better that we can share with each other. So until 2 weeks from now, safe travels.
All right, everybody, take care.